Hey, what's going on, guys? It is the weekly reset once again, and this week faction rallies have returned, as you can see by all the faction flags sitting here in the tower. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and start with the Nightfall, as we always do. The Nightfall this week is the Inverted Spire Strike, and the modifiers this week are Momentum and Time Warp Rings. In case you don't know what these are, Momentum, health and shield regeneration are disabled while standing still. Sprint to regenerate more quickly. And Time Warp Rings, Vex Time Gates have appeared in the area. Pass through them to discharge temporal energy and extend the mission timer. So basically, you're going to have little bitty stargates, either on the ground or in the sky, that you have to pass through to get more time. And the milestones this week, we have the flashpoint on Nessus, and of course, Clan XP has been reset. And next up, let's get into the Eververse Loot for the week. Alright, starting with the emotes, we have the Good Idea emote. Oh, this is that one meme. Okay, that's cool. We have the Flip Out emote, aka the Table Flip. The Soul Velocity Sparrow. That actually looks kind of nice, at least with that color it does. The Helios Strange Ship. The Spectral Gain Ship. Not a bad color scheme, if I do say so myself. We have the Comstock Load Weapon Ornament once again. We have the Beware the Red Legion Ornament, also once again. And for Eververse Armor, we have the Chest Plate, or whatever the equivalent of that is for your class. Not a bad looking chest plate. We have the Blue Moon Shell. The Aggressive Shell. That's actually not a bad design. I want to say I'd consider getting it, but I really don't care enough. For shaders, we have the Noble Constant Red shader, the Arctic Pearl, Cerulean Divide, and lastly, of course, we always have the Fireteam Medallions. And next up, let's get into the weekly meditations.
Welcome.
This week we have Combustion, 1 AU, and Chosen. So like I said before, faction rallies have returned once again, and we're going to take a look at each of the prize weapons, and I'm going to give you my opinion as to which one I think might be better in the Crucible. So for New Monarchy, we have the Honor's Edge. Its intrinsic perk is Adaptive Frame, well-rounded and reliable. Use RT or R2 to launch an uppercut attack, so kind of like the Raise Lighter. It's got Tempered Edge, increased sword damage and ammo, or Jagged Edge, increased damage at the cost of sword ammo, so probably a little bit more damage. It has Burst Guard. Sword Guard has low efficiency and high defense, or you can use Enduring Guard with high efficiency and low defense. And you have On Guard as the trait. Quick attacks immediately after swapping to this sword do additional damage. So it's kind of like Hot Swap for a fusion rifle, except for this sword, which I think could be very useful. This might be a good surprise weapon in the Crucible. This might be that sword where you go and you pick up ammo, switch back to maybe your kinetic or your energy, and then right when you're about to hit somebody, you pull out the sword and you slice them. That could be what you use this for. However, I don't know. I don't really think that's going to be very effective in the Crucible because the time it takes you to swap the sword out might be a little bit too long, but that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Next up, we're going to look at Future War Cult's fusion rifle offering, which is called Timelines Vertex. So I'm going to admit it, I'm not really that into fusion rifles. I never was, and I probably never will be. It just never really fits my playstyle. So you guys might know these stats a lot better than I do. I am not really seeing anything worth writing home about right now on these stats, to be honest. The impact looks kind of nice, but I'm used to either seeing a Saladin's Vigil archetype from D1 or something more like a Branded Lord archetype, also from D1. But I don't really know too much about these fusion rifles. So I'm going to say that I'm going to personally not pick it, but you might want it because it is a fusion rifle and you might be into that. But that's up to you. Let's take a look at the perks. Its intrinsic perk is Adaptive Frame, well-rounded grip, reliable and sturdy. For its sights, it has Spark PS, which increases range and increases handling speed. Or you could use Torch HS3, which greatly increases range and slightly decreases handling speed. For its battery perks, we have Enhanced Battery, which increases magazine size, or you can use Accelerated Coils, which speeds up your charge time and decreases your impact damage. And then lastly, for its trait, it has Snapshot Sights, faster time to aim down sights. And lastly, we're going to look at the previous faction rally winner, Dead Orbit, and their offering of a rocket launcher called the Truthteller. This is a one-shot rocket launcher that seems to have at least semi-decent stats. Its intrinsic perk is Lightweight Frame, one-shot handheld grenade launcher with remote detonation, hold RT or R2 to fire, release to detonate. So kind of like the Prospector. Its barrel perks are Confined Launch, greatly increases stability, increases blast radius, and decreases projectile speed. Or you could use Linear Compensator, which slightly increases projectile speed, increases blast radius, and increases stability, which puts velocity actually pretty high on that scale there. Or lastly, you could use Hard Launch, which greatly increases the projectile speed, which actually almost maxes it out, decreases stability, and slightly decreases blast radius. With velocity this high, I actually could see this potentially being useful. Now, stability is not really going to matter because you're reloading every round anyway, but with velocity like that, you could actually use this potentially pretty well if you could just hit somebody right in the face with it. For magazine perks, we have Concussion Grenades. Grenades fired from this weapon emit a blast that staggers enemies, which could actually play pretty well into the velocity. Or you could use Black Powder, which increases blast radius and decreases stability. However, even though it does say it increases blast radius, I'm not really seeing much of an increase, or really any increase, in the actual stat bars. I don't know if that's actually a glitch, or if that's just something that they just didn't put on there, I don't know. And lastly, its trait is Quick Draw. This weapon can be drawn unbelievably fast. One last thing I forgot to mention during the original recording of this video was that all the previous Faction Rally prizes are now available to drop in the engrams you get from ranking up, which means that the prize of each of these factions should not be a factor in who you pledge to whoever you want. So after looking at all the different faction offerings this time around, I honestly can't tell which one would be actually the best in the Crucible because it really depends on your playstyle. And like I said before, I haven't really tested very many fusion rifles. I'm not much of a fusion rifle connoisseur. So I'll leave that to you guys in the comment section below because you've seen the perks, you've seen the stats. You know what good stats and good perks look like. But as far as the other two weapons go, I could see the grenade launcher being pretty useful in the right hands and with the right strategy. And the sword, I could also see that being pretty useful because you have different builds. You have the high defense, low efficiency build, and you have the low efficiency, high defense build. So this could go both ways. Personally, I'm looking more forward to the sword, so I'm going to be choosing that on my Titan. However, I'm also going to be on all the different factions amongst all my characters. If you found this video to be useful, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. GG.